Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pixelists podcast, the podcast about all the nerdy things we enjoy. I'm Will, that's my buddy Blake, and today we're actually not talking about Critical Role. We are going to dive into a little bit of the Comic-Con craziness that was, I guess, a week ago, last weekend. I feel like we're probably going to mostly focus on the Marvel stuff because that's what, for the most part, Blake and I are into. Even though there's a bunch of different, announcements and trailers, and we might mention a few of them, but for the most part, we're going to be focusing on those MCU announcements. And this is new for us. We haven't really dissected anything like this before, so bear with us. We don't really have a game plan. Just going to kind of, I don't know,
general reactions, I guess.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like, is the MCU doomed, or is this the best is yet to come?
Well, is that a pun? Because it does look like Doctor Doom might be in the future.
You'll never know. It wasn't a pun.
But yeah, so I don't think we have any announcements per se. We are doing okay, I lied. I remembered one right when I said that. We are actually doing a giveaway at 1,000 subs for anyone that hasn't been aware of that yet. All you have to do is be a sub to our channel, and once we hit that benchmark, we will be giving away a copy of Tal'Dorei Reborn. If you're on this video, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, if you're on this video and you've never seen us before, we usually talk about a lot of D&D stuff. So if you're not familiar with that, Tal'Dorei Reborn is a D&D source book from the people that were at Critical Role. I
feel like some of our early videos were also mostly Marvel, so I think the people who originally followed us were probably we hate that guy because those two guys, they just stopped talking about the stuff we loved, and we went full into D&D. So if you don't even know what D&D is, hey, we're gonna get you a copy of Tal'Dorei Reborn.
That's right.
We're gonna bring you in to the cult.
That's right. So first one's free.
Yeah.
But so we're doing a giveaway. Like I said, just have to be a subscriber to enter. It's as easy as that. And once we hit that number, I think we're pretty close, but we'll put out an announcement or whatever.
Probably on Twitter.
Yeah. And we're on Twitter at the Pixelists. Yeah.
Right.
But so I think that would be the only announcement that we would have.
Witcher season 2.
That's coming soon for sure. Hopefully before season 3.
It's gonna be my go-to joke. It's gonna be 3 years later. You're like, I can't blink.
I don't know if I'll get tired of it because
hopefully by then there's a season 3, maybe a season 4. Who knows?
I hope so. I mean, not to get into it right now, but it's my guilty pleasure. I enjoy The Witcher.
Yeah, it was a show.
It's not winning any Emmys. I mean, let's be honest, but it's fun. But anyway, I don't want to get off track.
Right.
Comic-Con announcements. Now, feel free to jump in with anything at any point, obviously. But since we are going to mainly focus on the MCU things, I was just going to quickly throw out a couple non-MCU things that I thought were pretty cool, or I'm interested in at least. And kind of using what we just talked about as a segue, we actually got our first glimpse at the D&D movie trailer, and I actually thought it looked really fun. And
it looks really good, but on the same token, I'm like, surely this can't be good. I feel like it's a rule of thumb that it just cannot be good. But it looks pretty good.
We've been hurt before.
Yeah, we remember the old D&D movie with the guy from Margin Call. I can't think of his name, but
you're not talking about the one with Tom Hanks.
Are you talking about a D&D movie? Or?
Yeah, there was I haven't seen it, but I know
a D&D movie with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I know of its existence, but I haven't seen it, so I can't speak too much about it. But
Tom Hanks, D&D, Mazes and Monsters, 1982. No, I am not talking about that. Let's see.
See, I don't think I know which one you're talking about.
It's Jeremy Irons.
Oh, what was the movie called?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, you know what? Okay, yeah, I think I saw that in theaters.
There was the dude with the blue lips.
Yes.
Yeah, bro.
Dude, I saw that in theaters, and I wasn't even I didn't even really experience D&D until 5 years ago, and I saw that in theaters whenever that came out 20 years ago.
Yeah, I unfortunately saw it in theaters too.
We probably saw it together.
Yeah. Dude, this movie sucked bad. All that to say, the new one with Chris Pine looks pretty good. It feels like it can't be good, but I don't know. Maybe it will be good. It's a good time to be a D&D fan.
It
So,
is. It feels like it's going in with the right amount of like self-awareness. Like it's
yeah.
not trying to be Lord of the Rings, like this epic high fantasy. It's like it knows it has the right amount of humor, at least, from what we saw in the trailer, at least.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I think that's going to be fun, but you are wise to keep the expectations in the gutter because I mean, like I said, we've been hurt before.
I feel like when you go in with the right expectations, it just lets you enjoy the movie better. Like
For
the World
sure.
of Warcraft movie. Like I expected it to be awful, and therefore I enjoyed it. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
That's
So
fair. That's fair. We should I forgot that they even made that movie.
yeah.
I wonder if they're gonna make sequels to that.
No, I think Blizzard's too busy abusing women to focus on that.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah. You might be onto something.
Blizzard of the old, when they actually liked making video games, maybe. New corporate Blizzard, probably not.
Yeah.
So, because I'm sure it's not profitable to make a movie like that.
And did you see that? I think I sent it in a group chat. The Reddit post about how much money Diablo Immortal has made.
Yeah, $100 million.
And it's like one of the
Crazy.
quickest to ever reach that mark. And it's just like, okay, games they're not going to learn anything. Every game is going to be like that now.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's is what it is. You
Yeah.
people swiping the card, but hey, to be fair, there's like a whole industry around. We're getting like way off topic now. There's a whole like industry around like game theory and like I mean, it's basically like the same conversation as like people who design casinos.
Right.
Like how do you do it in a way that without people's knowledge keeps them engaged like in the loop of spending money, and that same thing's being applied to monetization in gaming. And so all that to say, I joke like you guys who swipe the card, but for a lot of you guys it's really not your fault. I mean you are the one like spending money, but you're also you're being what's the expression, like it's predatory practices.
Yeah.
So it's preying on people who which on the flip side, I've always loved Path of Exile and GGG, Grinding Gear Games. And I remember you can donate a lot of money, by the way, to GGG. But I remember there was a guy who posted on Reddit that was like, I've spent like $30,000 and I can't stop. Please disable my ability to buy from the cosmetic store. And they did that. They turned it off for him. So
he's like, please re-enable it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then he was like, just kidding. He's like being passive aggressive. Yeah, if you want to turn it off, I mean, sure. Anyway, all that to say, yeah, the D&D movie looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been on a Chris Pine kick lately. I mentioned Smoking Aces, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Chris Pine.
Bro, I've long been a tenant of Chris Pine, Best Chris. And I used to get laughed at for this. People were like,
he has the least amount of coverage, like across like major franchises for sure.
Yeah, and just in case anyone doesn't know what I mean by that, we got Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Evans, and Chris Hemsworth. Everyone has a favorite. I've always been Team Pine. This is about a Chris Pine podcast now, but while we're here, what put me over the edge and set him as my favorite was I found out the man can sing. Like Frank Sinatra. Like, it's not fair. He can't, like, he's talented, good looking, wealthy, and he can sing too.
I think Chris Evans can sing too.
He can?
I think so.
I'm gonna have to check that out. But yeah, like seriously, if you're watching this right now and you are at any, even a tiny bit of a Chris Pine fan, YouTube Chris Pine like singing with Barbra Streisand, it'd blow you away.
You like have the exact video name and like timestamp.
It made a mark on me clearly.
When he comes in at 3 minutes and 41 seconds, go to that frame. Anyway,
but yeah.
So yeah, we had that announcement. What else that's non-Marvel?
The only other thing on Marvel would be the Lord of the Rings. I think it wasn't the first trailer for that show, but it was like a new trailer for the.
I think it might have been like we'd seen teasers. I think maybe it was like their official trailer or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think you're right. So we got the first look at that, which kind of same ballpark of like, I've been hurt before, so I want to just have low expectations. But in my heart of hearts, I want it to be amazing. Like I want it to be, not counting the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones level.
Yeah.
But just because I love that world, but
I think people have very similar feelings of coming off of Game of Thrones, which was like, I have not talked to anyone actually who, I mean, people we typically all like fall into like similar thinking, like whatever fanfare is. Though I will say, I feel like I'm one of the few people who really legitimately loved Lost, like all the way through.
Me too, man. Maybe
A
that's
lot of
why
people
we're
are like,
friends.
"Oh, Lost sucked at the end." I don't know. That's fine. Game of Thrones, though, I feel like is like universally people are like, "Yeah, the ending they blew it."
Yeah.
So I definitely relate with you. Like, it's interesting because Lord of the Rings has such a special place, like in my heart. I remember going and seeing the movies, and I mean, we went and saw the movies.
Yeah.
Don't miss that one part. But all this to say,
Forgot about that.
yeah. So so just quick spoiler, just side, we're trying to stretch out this video because we don't know what to talk about. So in the very first Lord of the Rings, when Frodo gets the ring from Bilbo, his uncle or his grandfather or something, people are going to be super pissed that I can't remember this.
It's his uncle.
Okay, yeah. So later when they're rescued from the mines of Moria, Bilbo's there, and it's really not that funny. So you guys who've seen the movie, Bilbo, he sees him holding the necklace around his neck, and he has this moment of temptation. Well, we had a friend who he had already seen the movie, and he really was like, you have to pay attention to this scene. Like you don't want to miss it. And I mean, it would be equivalent to today, like getting a text right before the scene of someone like in all caps, like pay attention, don't miss it. And so we were watching this movie in theaters. This moment happens, and if you've seen the movie, it's I guess it's a neat scene. But Bilbo, he sees the ring, and then he has like this ghastly expression as he reaches for it.
Yeah, it's like
and then
demonic.
and he's like, "I'm so sorry," like whatever. Well, it became like a running joke in our friends group because it was like, how could you not? Like our friend made it seem like it'd be so easy to miss.
Yeah, it's like a
And
real
it
subtle
wasn't.
moment.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, yeah, we got it. But all this to say, getting off topic, we have like this really awesome franchise that has been kind of hasn't been ruined, I guess, but coming off of Game of Thrones, it definitely feels like the opportunity of a cash grab.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know how many wins Amazon has had. I know their game studios did New World that like super flopped. So I don't know, like media production, like are there shows that they've made otherwise that have been super successful?
So The Boys is pretty
Okay, yeah, Boys is
successful.
great. That's true.
Legend of Vox Machina. Check that out if you haven't. But I'm not really giving them credit for that.
Published
Yeah,
it.
they're just publishing
I don't
it.
give them credit for that.
I had something else, but I lost it. Oh, not a positive one, but a kind of a similar wheelhouse, pun intended. The Wheel of Time series, which is based on books. Yeah, I haven't read the books. I watched one episode of the series, and I was like, "This is garbage." And
I have never read the book. This is how like shamelessly like affected I am by like people's videos. Never watched the show. Never watched a minute of the show. But I watched like a 50-minute deep dive on why Wheel of Time was awful. And it was a dude who he had an awesome video. Those deep dive videos you watch where someone's like, I watched one on Dune where it was like, what are the themes of the book compared to the movie? And it was like awesome. Like I walked away like with so much of a deeper appreciation for the film after watching it. So, people put a lot of like heart and soul into this kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, I walked away having never seen the show being like, that show sucks, dude. And then I found myself like later that week and it like got brought up and I was like, oh, dude, you don't want to watch that show. And I had never even seen it, but it's because I had watched that YouTube video. Yeah. So I think that's a very fair point in the negative for what Lord of the Rings could be.
Yeah, but so that's why, trying to keep the expectations low. The trailer looked okay. Rounding back to the Comic-Con part of things here, but I'm still very nervous.
The thing that surprised me was I thought the focus of the show was supposed to be not Sauron, but the big bad who came before Sauron. And I know they mentioned Sauron in this new trailer. So I don't know if like the show's changing a lot. Another thing that I noticed was the original teaser was very CGI heavy for like the orcs especially,
Mhm.
and it just didn't look good. It looked really bad. In the new trailer, they went back to like the prosthetics and like it looked like the Peter Jackson
Yeah.
esque type films that we had really loved and appreciated. So I don't know if the show's just constantly changing or if maybe like the marketing angles are just evolving as well, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess we won't know till it comes out, but sometimes, not to give them the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes those early releases, like it's just not finished, right? So they maybe have to like touch it up with some weak CGI to like just make it presentable for the quick tease or something. But that might be wishful thinking saying that's the case.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's this fall, right? When it comes out?
I actually don't remember.
It was like
I think so, because it's supposed to be pretty soon, I think. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna watch it. At least if it's terrible, I'll stop. But it's definitely a show I'm gonna check out. But I'm very nervously excited, I guess.
Yeah, it's due out in a month, September 2nd.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
it's that soon. I forgot.
So we'll have to. I feel like I envision us like doing like an episode by episode recap and reactions. And then if you're watching this video like a year from now, you can know if we liked it by if there was ever more than like 2 episodes that we talked about.
Yeah.
We're just like, we're good. We're going to move on. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think for the most part, those were the 2 big non-MCU things that I wanted to.
The only other thing that I watched was the Critical Role Q&A panel.
Oh yeah. Oh, did you end up like watching the whole
thing? I did. I was already like halfway through when I got your message that was like abort. I did skip a couple of things like where they were talking about like deep story stuff. I did, not really spoilers, but just like, Caleb had the question around like dealing with trauma that I didn't understand the context of, but he gave such a beautiful answer.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole cast really you could tell they were really moved by it. But no, it's really great to just hear your like heroes kind of like wax poetic about this franchise that they've been a part of, this brand they've been a part of for several years now. So that was really cool too.
Yeah. And one thing, I mean, we could do a whole video on that probably, but one thing just to touch on it real quick that I also like got me excited to hear was just how they talked about like this is just the beginning. I think Travis said that a couple times, so like it gives me, there's always the fear that like Matt's gonna be like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I don't know, I was just excited to hear that they have all these big plans, and this wasn't talked about in that video, but like thinking about video games and just, I think Travis even in one interview compared what they're trying to build to the MCU, how they have like all these interconnected properties and just world building on that scale. So
well, and 2 other details. There was a shout out for Calamity, and Matt mentioned how I think there was a question around like, will there be more, content like Calamity?
Yeah,
and that was basically like, I mean, yeah, not saying anything specific, but he said, this was just like one part at the very start of the Calamity. There's still so many other stories to tell within the Calamity, which I thought was really cool.
right.
And then he made another comment about how he was like, yeah, we haven't, I don't know if this was like just the creative side of Matt, just like kind of dreaming, or if they actually are thinking of this, but he talked about like, yeah, we don't even know like what would it look like for like the Industrial Revolution to hit Exandria and like, technology. So it was interesting to hear that. It was kind of like, oh, we might get like kind of like a, sort of a modern-esque series, or I don't know.
Yeah, because I think the part it was mentioned how Calamity was like all this time in the past. I think he mentioned like, what if we jump to the future? Right. And so yeah, all that stuff will be so cool to see.
Well, let's talk MCU. We got a ton, bro. It feels like this franchise is just there's so many things to keep up with. Not good or bad. I'm not saying if they shouldn't or should be doing that, but definitely a lot of things announced. We talk a lot about, our people talk a lot about this concept of like Marvel fatigue, like, oh, I'm so sick of Marvel movies. If you're that person, got bad news. They have churned this thing up to 11 with TV shows, more films. I love Marvel, so it doesn't bother me. It's cool for me because I really love the whole brand. But yeah, what was your reaction to seeing all the announcements of the content coming up?
Just excited mostly. I'm a big fan of it too. Uh, Specifically though, this is always kind of an exciting time for people that keep up with this sort of thing, getting the big like timeline reveal. And even though those dates more than likely are going to get shifted around because life happens, it's just cool to kind of see what we're in store for and what's next. And
Right.
usually there's always a couple big hidden, or not hidden announcements, but like reveals that no one knew anything about. And
Secret announcements.
yeah. And in this case, those Avengers movies were definitely the two big ones. And the fact that they're in the same year is pretty crazy.
6 months apart. So they film them together, right? I mean, is that
Yeah. Oh, well, they haven't filmed them yet, but I'm assuming it's gonna be I don't know.
is it going to be a two-parter, or are these going to be
I think
I didn't know if we were getting an Infinity War in-game type situation, or Avengers 1, Avengers 2 that happened to be 6 months
I feel like
within one another.
I mean, that's the question, right? I feel like it's definitely gonna be maybe not as like part one, part two as in-game Infinity War, but mainly based on the titles, because we have the Kang Dynasty, which is the first one, and then Secret Wars, which is the second one. And who knows? The MCU has made many changes from like the source material to make things fit for them. But we do know that in the comics, Secret Wars was not really a Kang thing. So that makes me think maybe they're not as close knit related as Avengers and whatever they're Infinity War Endgame, but maybe they are. Maybe for the MCU, it's going to be tied together more close knitly.
Let's go through let's just go through everything that was announced.
Okay.
Maybe we can name it all off, and then maybe we can start at the beginning and work our way, maybe ending with Avengers.
The Avengers stuff, yeah.
And we'll just, for you guys listening, if you want us to give like a bigger reaction on something, just let us know. Drop it in the comments. Hey, what do you think about this? Otherwise, I think we'll probably maybe go through and just give like general reactions.
There's a couple things I want to specifically like
for sure
sit on for a second, but yeah, for the most part.
So let me do just like, this is everything happening, and if I miss one, you can tell me, and then we can go back to the start. And
all right,
because like I want to talk about like Wakanda for example.
Yeah.
Black Panther. So we have, and I don't have the dates like fully blown up here. Let me see.
I've got a nice little list if you want me to just knock it out.
Yeah, you go for it.
All right. Okay, so so in terms of like this phase timeline, well, real quick, there's a couple things that don't really fit in a phase, which is Spider-Man Freshman Year, which is that animated series that takes place like before Civil War and like when Spider-Man, like before he met Tony Stark, essentially. Then we have X-Men 97, which is another animated show that's gonna like be a continuation of that old X-Men show from when we were kids. Excited about that. And then we have Marvel Zombies and also What If Season 2. So all those things are coming, but they're not really necessarily part of the main continuity, I don't think. So they don't really fit within the phases.
And I think they also announced What If Season 3 also. It's on the calendar.
Okay.
For like late in phase 5, I guess. But like you said, it's not listed as phase content. It's like we know we're going to do a season 3 of What If. Loki as well, by the way. Loki season 2.
All right, anyway, so we got the end of phase 4, which is all we have left in phase 4 is She-Hulk, which is coming out August, like less than a month away, and then Wakanda Forever, which is in November. Then we have phase 5, which is Ant-Man Quantumania in February 2023. We've got Secret Invasion that just says 2023. You don't really know when. We got Guardians.
That's Disney Plus.
Right. Thank you. We got Guardians 3, which is May 6th, 2023. Then we have the Echo series, which is a Disney Plus TV show, summer 2023. Loki season 2, also Disney Plus, summer 2023. The Marvels, which is Captain Marvel 2, essentially, July 28th, 2023. Then we have Blade, November 3rd, 2023. Ironheart, the Disney Plus series, fall 2023. Agatha, Coven of Chaos, which just says winter, so 23/24. I believe that's a Disney Plus series as well.
Right.
And the thing I'm most excited about, Daredevil Born Again, spring 2024. Then we have Captain America 4, New World Order, May 3rd, 2024. And rounding out Phase 5 is the Thunderbolts movie, which is July 26th, 2024. And then Phase 6, the only things we got announced there were the Fantastic Four movie is going to kick it off in November 2024. And then those pair of Avengers movies, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, which is May 2025 and November 2025.
Yeah.
I think that's everything unless I missed something.
That's everything I got.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. So She-Hulk's a show. Wakanda Forever's a movie, right?
Right.
So Phase 5, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shows. Secret Invasion, Echo, Loki, Ironheart, Daredevil, and Agatha. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Is Blade a movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't separate Blade from Wesley Snipes. So we'll just have to see. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 movies. So 6 shows, 6 movies happening in Phase 6, 2023 and 2024.
Phase 5, but yeah.
For Phase 5, thank you. Yes, sorry. So starting with Phase 4, we, like you said, we have She-Hulk still, and we have Wakanda Forever. Reactions on She-Hulk.
I'm excited for it. I think in and of itself it looks fun. It kind of looks a bit more lighthearted. I mean, we'll see where it ends up actually going, but looks more like a kind of comedy flair to me than like the typical like serious superhero. Not, you know what I mean. But so I think that's going to be fun little concept to play with. Interested to see, where it goes in general with the court cases and the different heroes and villains that might appear. But I'm really excited for it because my boy Charlie Cox is showing up as Daredevil in it.
That was a loaded question. I knew you were going to go there.
I can't wait to see that. I don't think we have any type of confirmation for how big of a role, but the fact that they included him in the trailer, I feel like
his suit looked cool too.
Yeah, and that's a suit we haven't seen before on screen. At least. So yeah, I'm excited because excuse me. We know that. I mean, so Netflix had their own Marvel shows. We had Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones.
Right.
There's been a whole long saga of like, what is that MCU canon?
Punisher, bro.
Oh, Punisher. Thank you, Punisher as well.
How can you do my guy, John Bernthal?
I know. I was just thinking of the 4 that were in Defenders, so I just kind of forgot about him.
That hurts.
But see, it's been a long saga of like save Daredevil. Everybody wanted Charlie Cox to get this opportunity, and as we know, he showed up in Spider-Man: No Way Home. But there's been some lingering questions because some things don't really necessarily make perfect sense if you just grab all of the Netflix canon and say, yeah, that was always there. So I'm pretty sure that this is kind of a soft reboot of the character. So, but it's still Charlie Cox. They got Vincent D'Onofrio for Kingpin. That's you got to watch those shows on Netflix if you guys haven't. And maybe you can, if you really want to, you can skip all of them except for Daredevil. But Daredevil is so good. So
don't skip Punisher, guys. I don't know why he's so anti.
No, I mean, I'm not telling you to skip any of them, but if you needed to, like if you're only going to watch one, make it Daredevil.
Season 1 of Punisher.
But so I'm just excited to see, since this is our first, the one scene in No Way Home excluded, this is going to be our first real like look into the character, and we can kind of see what this soft reboot means. Like, are there any callbacks to things that people may be familiar with from that Netflix show? And I'm just excited to see him because diehard Charlie Cox fan here. I love that show. I thought he was as good at that role as like RDJ was at Tony Stark. So I'm just so
Yeah.
excited to see him like be invited into the fold.
All right. So to summarize your thoughts on She-Hulk, really excited for Daredevil.
Yes, basically.
Okay, cool. Got it.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going. It's what we started the conversation with. I'm going in with pretty low expectations, and I think I'll enjoy it for like what it is. So, it's going to be something to watch on Disney Plus, but otherwise, I'm not really, thinking much about it. Moving on to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, bro. We got a trailer out of this that was insane.
That trailer is one of the best trailers I've seen in a long time.
Dude, that trailer gave me chills. It was Angela Bassett. Her line in the trailer is amazing. But yeah, the trailer looks really good. It seems like we are getting someone to don the Black Panther persona where there's there's a screen grab at the very end, or like the scene cut with the claws coming out. This looks like an incredible movie dropping this fall or late fall.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Trailer was incredible. I feel like it hit like all the right emotional tones, and it's like it's so like loaded just because of Chadwick, like, and it seems like they're not shying away from that at all. I mean, from the trailer, it looks like there's a funeral for presumably T'Challa, because there's been a question as to kind of like, we know they said they weren't going to recast T'Challa, but they never really said what was going to happen. Like, is he gonna die in the MCU, or is something else gonna happen? But it looks like he is gonna die. So I mean, I can't even imagine like filming that, because it being so real, like. So I imagine this is gonna be a super emotional movie. It looks beautiful. It looks awesome. And Namor, I'm not sure if it's Namor or Namor. I'm gonna go Namor, but y'all correct me if I'm wrong.
Namor, yeah.
Looks awesome. I don't know too much about that character, but I'm really excited for that. Like, it's so cool that I mean, we'll see what happens in the movie, but he's being displayed as the antagonist, really. Like, there's a probably battle between Wakanda, and they're not calling it Atlantis, so I don't know what they're going to call it. I think it's been revealed.
They're not the Atlanteans?
Like, in the comics, they are, but they're changing that. I think it's because they don't want to like differentiate from Aquaman. So I don't think.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't remember what they're actually being called in the MCU.
Interesting. Okay.
But it just looks super cool. I'm really excited for that, and just excited for Namor, like, trajectory in the MCU beyond this as well. Perhaps as more of a anti-hero than a hero, which I think is cool. I think the MCU kind of needs some more of those, which is, not to get way ahead of myself here, but it's why I'm really excited for Doctor Doom. I hope they do it right.
I thought we were going back to Daredevil.
I just really can't wait to see Charlie Cox in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. He's the new Black Panther at the end. If you weren't sure.
I feel like in other show mediums, like where a cast person dies, the way I've seen it best handled is where you have the characters mourning that person's passing, but there's never like really a specific like reason cause given. Yeah. And I think sometimes I think the benefit for the writers is they don't necessarily have to like write in here's what happened or how it happened or what have you, other than just it happened, and here's everyone kind of reeling from it. So it's kind of what I expect, but I guess we'll see once we see the movie.
Yeah. I'm really excited for it though. I do think that's Shuri at the end though. I feel pretty confident.
I wondered. I wondered. There's a bit of controversy around her. And so I didn't know. I wasn't quite sure. It does seem like the easiest answer though.
Yeah.
So
I did see that. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but there's been a lot of theories about Michael B. Jordan returning as Killmonger. Which I think would be like cool on some levels, but it would just feel really like kind of ham-fisted together. Like,
it feels a bit opposite his character. I mean, it's almost like, and because here's the deal: you had the first Black Panther, then we had Killmonger in What If,
right?
Who almost seemingly took on that role of T'Challa, because By the way, just a generic spoiler for like the next 60 seconds. In What If, this is your last chance. In What If, there's an episode where Killmonger kills T'Challa and then sort of takes over that role. Doesn't take over like the Black Panther role, but like is sort of like the long lost family member who assumes like his authority and he's welcomed into the family essentially.
Yeah,
And
he does
basically
take over the role, doesn't he? I thought he did.
does he become the Black Panther?
I think so.
I'm probably just misremembering then. Point being, though, he basically uses it to consolidate power and backstabs everyone, and it's all this crazy stuff. So because of that too, it's hard for me to envision him in like an honest way, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Sure. I did. So I don't subscribe to this, but just to give it the full merit here, it is a kind of clean connection in that, spoilers for Black Panther 1, he dies and is dropped into the sea. So maybe Namor and that civilization like find his body or something. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a clever way to maybe connect those threads, but I think it's Shuri, and I don't think we'll see Michael B. Jordan again, but if they could make it satisfying and not like, oh, you just brought him back because you needed something, then I mean, I'd like to see him. I think he's a fantastic actor. He was amazing in that role. But
he is an amazing actor.
My money's on Shuri for the new VP.
Well, moving on to Phase 5.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, this interesting that this is the end of Phase 4. This is the first phase that correct me if I'm wrong, has not ended with an Avengers movie or some sort of team up. So I wonder, we obviously know Namor's getting introduced and there's that whole side of things, but I'm wondering if there's maybe a bigger, maybe in the post-credit scene, maybe just a hint at something else that kind of like makes it more of a culmination phase moment. Not that it has to be some big bad that is battled at the end of every phase, but like maybe we get our first hint of Doctor Doom in this movie, or something like that.
Surely they have to do something, because Infinity War was so good because you had seen Thanos teased so many times. Right. And even outside of him being on screen, the dude, what are they even called? The stones.
Yeah,
the
Infinity Stones.
Yeah, they had been such key plot points across the films. Which in hindsight, after seeing Infinity War, you can point to those movies and be like, oh, there's that stone and there's this one. That could theoretically already be happening and we don't really realize it. But it does feel like for Kang to be, because some people, they aren't going to watch the TV show, they're not going to watch Loki season 1. And so definitely, I agree with you. I feel like there has to be, dropping breadcrumbs of Kang, Doctor Doom, whatever the next big thing is. And I think you're right. We'll probably see it sooner than later.
Yeah. So I don't really know what to pinpoint and say that I think is going to happen, but I think there is going to be some other element, again, if it's in the post-credit scene or whatever, that's introduced in Wakanda Forever as the phase bookend. So I'm excited for that too, if indeed that is the case.
It does feel like Phase 4, I don't know if it's fair to say, had a little bit of a lull. It was hard to follow, I think, Infinity War or Endgame. In the sense of, I enjoyed everything from this phase. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, it was a bad phase. It just doesn't feel like we've really progressed too heavily towards like, now we're beginning the churn up again for like the next big climax.
Yeah. And also it was just so long because of the pandemic, like Phase 4 began with Black Panther, which was like 3 years ago now. And I don't know if this is the time for it or not, but yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like, it's just hard to follow Infinity War. There's going to be a bit of a lull there because you're going from like the highest of,
yeah,
I don't know the word I'm looking for, but and you kind of coming back down to rebuild.
And not just like highest of highest from like, if you're a Marvel fan, objectively, I mean, the Russo brothers created 2 really amazing films. Yeah. So that's, I think, another piece of it is like, it's not just a high point in Marvel fandom. Like, these are really awesome films. we so far haven't quite seen something that has like fully matched. Maybe Spider-Man, but nothing that I would be like that impacted me like those movies did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean I think that's fair because those were the culmination of so much,
Sure. Right.
But yeah, so sorry that we can dance on to phase 5 now.
Yeah, so talking phase 5, do you want to just go through time, or do you want to do like all the movies and then all the shows?
I'm game for whatever. Oh, there's one thing that I forgot to mention when I was listing all of the things, because I similar to those animated shows I mentioned at the beginning. I don't know where this fits, but there's a Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special that I think is this year.
Oh, and there's also a Groot show we didn't mention.
Right. That looks like it's like for kids. I think like not that all of this isn't, it's to some extent for kids, but that looks like
count it out before
that looks
even.
like. I think they're only like a couple minutes long each. I mean, I'll probably watch them. I think
I'm just letting you guys know, if that becomes your new favorite, don't feel judged by Will. Not only did he call it a kid show, he did not accept it being included with. He was like, no, hang on.
No, it was an accidental not
Omission.
inclusion. Mission.
Okay, so starting with Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really like this like sub franchise. I love Paul Rudd. I love Evangeline Lilly. And this is, I think they've said that Kang is the main villain in Quantumania.
Yeah, I think so. He's at the very least in it. So, but I think he is, like the main antagonist. But they also revealed MODOK is in it.
Yeah, who's MODOK?
MODOK is the character that's like just a face in the robot,
Yeah.
He's got like a really stretched face. He's like a super genius. Right. It stands for something. Master of... I forgot what it stands for. You'd recognize him if you saw a picture of him, though.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about now that you mentioned the face.
Mental organism designed only for killing is what MODOK stands for. He reminds me of the guy from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
A little bit.
That guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turtles Back in Time. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, not counting Loki season 1, this should be our first real look at Kang. Which I'm excited, or it will be our first look at Kang, because in Loki season 1 it was He Who Remains and not the Kang variant.
Right.
So I guess it is our first look at him. So yeah, I'm really excited because I mean, clearly, at least for Avengers Kang Dynasty, he's the next big bad we're talking about. And whether he's still the big bad come Secret Wars, we can maybe discuss that later. But yeah, this will be our... It's interesting that we kind of get him as the presumably main antagonist of this movie, whilst him also being this overarching big bad. But it kind of makes sense because I'm assuming we're going to see lots of Jonathan Majors variants, not just like the singular Kang. Like we might see multiple iterations across different things, which that would be cool.
Yeah, I expect him to pop up a multitude of times with different versions for sure. Some more heroic than others, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, and then we have Secret Invasion, the first TV show for Phase 5. Mm-hmm. What do you know about Secret Invasion?
Just that, the Skrulls, which we've seen a few points so far in the MCU, in the comics, they had like infiltrated Earth, and a lot of like, main heroes weren't actually like... it's like Steve Rogers wasn't really Steve Rogers. It was a Skrull pretending to be him the whole time. Now, I don't know if the Steve Rogers one was actually one in the comic or not. That was just an example. So yeah, it's interesting that I could have seen this being like a whole like movie phase arc that culminated in the Secret Invasion event ending it. So it's interesting that it's just presumably a 6 to 8 episode TV run, but I'm wondering if it might be one of those things that isn't like neatly presented and tied up within the series, but maybe it's kind of like an introduction, and maybe we'll see different like Skrull agents pop up in other movies and stuff. I'm not sure.
I'm wondering if we're gonna see like scenes from previous films where like iconic scenes where someone's revealed to be a Skrull like after the fact.
That would be awesome. So I hope they do stuff like that. and we get oh, her name just left me, but Daenerys, Amelia Clarke.
Is
Uh,
she
yeah,
in it?
she's one of the main people along with Samuel L.
Oh,
Jackson. So it'll be interesting to
oh
see
wow.
her MCU debut.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of Game of Thrones alumni these days.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Oh,
yeah,
by the
I'm excited
way,
for it.
it's interesting that Eternals 2 isn't in hasn't been announced at all.
Yeah, so
Because it ended with the cliffhanger.
I've got a whole like chunk of like we didn't hear anything about these movies.
Okay. All right.
Maybe we could like tackle that at the end.
Sure. We can end with that. Okay. Well, then next we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. James Gunn came out and said this is the end of their story in terms of like the story he envisions telling. We may see, I'm sure we'll see these characters in some form again. But yeah, it's one of my favorite sub franchises, series, whatever.
Yeah,
so I'll be sad to see it come to an end.
Me too. I'm really excited for it though. I feel like, he had this whole story, not that he had all 3 scripts written or anything, but he had this whole story, envisioned. So, I always love it when like a story maker, a writer, director, whatever, has the vision for everything they want to do. And they're not just like, oh, this made a lot of money, let's make another one,
Right.
So I'm excited to see his grand vision kind of come together.
Is Gamora confirmed to be in it?
Yeah. So,
good.
But I mean, I guess it's the variant Gamora or whatever. But yeah, and we're also getting the High Evolutionary, which is a cool character to see in the MCU finally. And I think the connection there is that's probably who created Rocket. There's been a lot of like I think this movie is about Rocket mainly, like about his story, and apparently it's like devastatingly sad.
Yeah. Is Adam Warlock not going to be in it?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Adam Warlock is also going to be in this. Will Poulter got freaking ripped, dude.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. I remember you showing me. I think maybe you sent me like the picture, and I was like, "Oh, that seems like a cool actor." And then you like sent like what we know him as, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, what?"
Right? He's the kid from I forgot what it was called, but like the drug mule movie with the SNL guy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We're getting paid for this. For anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Not a kid anymore.
Yeah, grown ass man.
Yeah. And there's been like rumors about Drax dying too. Have you seen those?
I haven't seen those rumors, but I was gonna say, how you mentioned James Gunn, he's done. Like this is his story, and we may get a Guardians of the Galaxy 4 maybe with a new group of people, because that's like the Guardians of the Galaxy is like the Avengers in that there's been multiple iterations, if you will.
Howard the Duck.
Yeah, exactly. And anyway, back to Drax. Dave Bautista has been one of like James Gunn's biggest advocates back when the whole controversy when he got fired.
Right.
And he's
he was like, I'm not doing it without
James Gunn. I'm not doing it without James Gunn. And he also has come out and said that like I'm done after this one. Like James is done, I'm done. I think he said like I don't want to have to like keep in shape to have my shirt off all the time at age 50 or whatever he is. So I could see him dying, because if he wants out, maybe that's just the cleaner way to do it. And maybe the other ones, if they wanted to ever come back, still could. But if he knows he's kind of done with it, then yeah. So I hadn't seen those rumors, but I could see that happening.
So we're less than a year out from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So it's going to be here before we know it. And we should probably be getting a trailer actually in the next maybe what is it now? We're in August, so probably by holiday season we might have our first trailer.
That would be interesting. And I wonder if again, calling back to the Christmas special, the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, I don't know if information's been released about it. If it has, I'm not familiar with it, but I'm curious if that's like canon. And is like maybe takes place between Thor and what we end up getting in Guardians 3, or what. But it'll be interesting to see if that at all maybe sets up anything to expect from the movie.
Moving on, Echo. I don't know anything about Echo.
Did you watch Hawkeye?
Yes.
Echo was in Hawkeye. That was the deaf girl that was kind of antagonistic. She was like the little girl that the Kingpin picked up from karate class, and her dad, or I don't know if it was her dad, but
she was like bad, but then becomes
and at the end she shoots
Yeah. Oh,
Spoilers.
that's sorry.
Spoilers. I didn't say it yet, but at the
Oh,
end
that's
she
Echo.
shoots. Yeah, that's Echo.
Okay.
So she's getting
Okay.
her own
Yeah.
show.
Cool.
That I think
Okay.
uh, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are confirmed in. Vincent is a 1,000,000% in it, and I'm pretty confident saying that Charlie Cox is going to be in it too because they're very connected in the comics. And they're just throwing Daredevil everywhere, which I'm excited for. But yeah, I'm excited for that because, I mean, as you already know, I'm excited for the Daredevil Kingpin connections, but I think that could be a fun show. So.
Yeah. After that, summer of next year, we have Loki season 2. Freaking hyped about it.
Very excited.
Loved WandaVision, but like WandaVision and Loki, I'm not sure which one I loved more. I think in retrospect, I may have enjoyed Loki more. And I think Loki, maybe in my opinion, might be the best show that we saw in that first, batch of shows that they dropped. Dude, I'm excited for season 2.
All right, dude, stop stealing the words out of my mouth because I was going to say that Loki season 1 is my favorite thing from phase 4. So not only just the shows, but the movies. I think if I had to pick one thing from phase 4, it would be Loki.
It was a beautiful show. Not just like beautiful, like, oh, I enjoyed it, like visually stunning.
Yeah, like cinematography and everything.
Yeah, really good show.
So I'm really excited for season 2. I hope they can kind of recapture that lightning in a bottle that I think they had. But they're filming it right now. Yeah. We got obviously Tom Hiddleston's coming back, but Owen Wilson as well. So they had a nice little bromance. So I'm excited to see more of that.
They did. Is Sylvie confirmed? That actress?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's. I think what's great about Loki is you could pretty much do whatever you want with it and still feel a bit insulated from whatever else is happening. Like it kind of gives you the creative space is pretty much endless in that, naturally with the size of the Marvel universe, decisions or like writing decisions, you have to also like, I'm sure they have someone whose only job is like making sure things
like
line
continuity
up.
Checker.
Exactly. With Loki, you don't really necessarily, I mean, you kind of still have to have that, but you really don't because it's like, oh, it's part of the multiverse, it's what's happening here. But man, that first season was so good.
Yeah. And I imagine Jonathan Majors is going to be in it.
Presumably,
I feel like they haven't announced that, but I mean, spoilers for season 1, but he was in it. And at the end, we get that cliffhanger of the statue of him. So it'll be interesting if we see one or multiple versions of that character in season 2 as well as Ant-Man or whatever.
After that, in July, we have the Marvels. So Captain Marvel, and then who else? Is it her co-pilot who was in the other alternate in Wanda, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness?
No, I think it's so that the one in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness was her co-pilot, the Captain Marvel variant. Yeah. But no, in this, it's going to be her daughter from WandaVision. The one that got powers in WandaVision.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I think you're talking about Captain Marvel's daughter. I was like, when did this happen? Yes.
What did I miss?
But she has a superhero name.
I think, I don't know if it's confirmed what it is in the MCU, but there's like 2 things. It's Photon and Spectrum, I want to say.
Photon's the one that I've heard.
Okay.
Because I remember when we watched WandaVision, people were theorizing it was Photon. Spectrum I only know from the Marvel Snap game.
Okay. So so I think it is Photon. So we're gonna have Captain Marvel, Photon, and Miss Marvel from the TV show that just aired.
Didn't see Miss Marvel. It's actually I think maybe the only show I haven't watched yet. So
it's fun. I wouldn't put it up in Loki tier, of course, but it's fun. I think it's worth a watch. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm interested to kind of see. Those are 3. I mean, Miss Marvel aside, I don't really know how to categorize her power level, but Captain Marvel and Photon are like world breakers, I feel like, strength wise. So I'm interested to see what the antagonist is in that movie that requires all 3 of them to team up. So I'm that's one of those movies that I might think have a bit of seeding of setting up something. So I'm very interested to just like see more of what's going on in that story.
Yeah, for sure. You make a good point. Like, what would be the villain that would be meaningful? Then also every, you know, every following film still feels like you're building towards something.
Right.
Well, after that, in November, we have Blade, which is it going to be rated R? Do we know?
Actually, I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know if they've said.
Yeah, the first Blade was like pretty gruesomely violent, so
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I have, because of how much Blade is like imprinted in people's minds, like from our childhood. I have a hard time envisioning like a dialed back version of that. But I'm also open to whatever they come up with. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's like a kind of meta discussion that I'm curious about as well, because we do have confirmation that when Deadpool 3 is coming, it is going to be rated R. So they've opened that can of worms, for lack of a better phrase there. So why not make certain properties also rated R? Like, why restrict that only to Deadpool? I think Blade would be a perfect candidate for an R rating. But
sorry,
I was just gonna say, maybe depending on how they do vampires, like, because you can get away with some stuff, like when it's robot violence and like you cut and like oil sprays everywhere. Like, if that was blood, it would be rated R. Exactly. But so maybe if like vampires don't have red blood, they could still get away with like some violence and not have the R rating, or just something weird like that.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see.
Well, I was actually going to ask you. So it's interesting because we know X-Men's being brought into the MCU, with Blade being brought in. And when I say MCU, I'm referring to like the connected timeline, like everything's all happening like in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think Blade falls in this? Do you think that like while Steve Rogers is out, fighting Hydra, there's also like an underbelly of vampires that are, like I guess at what point does it feel like jumping the shark? And at what point does it like I'm very curious to see how they handle this and how it all seemingly fits in a kind of a tidy way, if that makes sense.
I'm 100% with you on what you're saying. I'm not too concerned about it with Blade in particular. But like the Fantastic Four, like, where have they been? Is that kind of what you're saying? Like, all this was happening in the background, but we just never really were aware of it?
Yeah, and even in Eternals, you had like the line of like, why didn't you guys help with Thanos? And he was like, and one of the characters is like, oh, we had how many times can you use that before it's kind of like, okay, are these people all like, it almost feels like you have to get to a point where, because we've opened up the multiverse, it almost feels like a neat way to write some of these stories is being like, yeah, this is Earth, not 616, Earth 312.
Right.
I don't know, but
yes, I like this, and maybe even if we can kind of remember this beat of conversation to talk about when we get to the Avengers movies, because I'm wondering if there might be some sort of like cosmic reset on the horizon that maybe could cleanly be like, now not that we're going to start brand new from scratch, but like that maybe something like that. But
Robert Downey Jr. returns as
but for Blade specifically, I don't really see that being an issue, because I feel like you could kind of just write that off as like, if they have been dropping hints at vampires, though. There was one in Loki season 1, that like during the like at the TVA like influx, like the little people were talking about like, oh, or I think it was Mobius actually was like, I've dealt with vampires and this, and now Demigod has given me the most trouble or whatever. And then they were also mentioned in Eternals. I forget when, but I think it was Kamal Nanjiani's like assistant brought it up or something. But anyway, so they have been like slightly threading it in, but I feel like for vampires, they're going to be like this. They're not going to be out in the open. The whole world is familiar with them. They are trying purposefully to fly under the radar. So because of that like aspect of it, I feel like for me personally, I'm not too concerned if it's like, oh, this has been going on the whole time. Because it's like, yeah, and it was like intentionally, this is like an underbelly thing that is, just not common knowledge. Yeah. But X-Men, Fantastic Four, I'm very curious how they're going to like make all that make sense.
They even had Sir Patrick Stewart in Doctor Strange 2. So I'm like, are we going to get some more of this guy in whatever other X-Men content? I mean, he's very iconic in terms of Charles Xavier, but
yeah, I think. I mean, that could be a whole conversation, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna get somebody new. I mean, he's just so old on top of everything else.
Who was the guy from like Days of Future Past, like that whole trilogy of like the prequel?
Not Ewan McGregor. I always get these two guys confused. James McAvoy.
Yes, James McAvoy, and then the guy who played Magneto,
Michael Fassbender.
Yes,
they both killed it.
Dude, they were awesome. Yeah. They're also, they didn't have like a whole. I mean, beyond the films they did, they're very iconic in my mind because they did so well in those roles. It would be kind of cool to
see them again. I mean, again, when we get to Secret Wars, I think anything's possible. Like, I think we could literally see anyone from any franchise that we've seen before. Like Chris Evans come back as the Human Torch for Secret Wars, man. You'd be a legend.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, those first few, I didn't even see like Dark Phoenix or whatever like the most recent one was, because I just heard it was so bad. Yeah, but those first few reimagined, like First Class and Days of Future Past, those are really good.
They were really good. They were awesome. The one with Kevin Bacon. That one was really good too. Anyway,
yeah, I forgot.
My guilty pleasure is the they were going to do like a series of like the backstory movies, and they did Wolverine. That was really good too. Anyway,
you know what else is really good?
All right, so just for the sake of time, it's getting a little long here.
Yeah,
we have Ironheart.
Sorry. Well, one last thing on Blade, because one, I'm just super excited for Mahershala Ali. Like, I think he's gonna kill it, and also Jon Snow, Kit Harington is gonna be in Blade, and I'm excited for that.
Did
you see Eternals?
Wait, yes, I did. Same character?
Yeah. So he's the Black Knight, or he's gonna be.
Yes, but I don't know anything about that character.
All right, so that tease at the end of Eternals, that was Blade's voice. That really spoke to him, like he was off screen, but you heard the voice. That was Blade.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Wow. All right. Sorry, I thought we were about to do like a Charlie Cox commentary again. Kit Harington reminds me of Charlie Cox. All right. For the sake of time, we're getting to more Charlie Cox in a second. Ironheart, Disney Plus show. Don't know anything about it.
She's like the spiritual successor to Iron Man. Okay. She's like inspired by him. She's going to be in Wakanda Forever.
Oh,
so that'll be our first glimpse at her.
Okay. Agatha, Coven of Chaos, which this was probably the best villain we've seen in a show in a long time, was in WandaVision. Don't know if it's going to be her or an alternate version, but we know she's like under Wanda's spell. Maybe Wanda dying in Doctor Strange 2, presumably. Maybe that freed her. I don't know. Do you know anything else about it?
Not really. I'm excited for it. I assume it's going to be the same one we're familiar with. I don't think it'll be a variant, but interested to see kind of what even the story of that show is about.
Yeah, she did a great job. I wonder if there was always planned to have a show for her.
Well, I don't know.
Because she did so well.
Impress them, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Spring. So that's all of 2023. Spring of 2024, we get Daredevil Born Again, Disney Plus show. What's really cool about this, I think they said they've ordered 18 episodes.
Yes, dude.
So if you haven't watched any Disney Plus shows, they're all short form content's the wrong way to put it, because like Loki, for example, they're almost hour-long episodes, but they're all 6, 7, 8 episodes. Daredevil's going to be 18 episodes. 18, really cool, man. It feels like they're really going into this big. So go ahead and say whatever else you want to say about it.
I'm just so excited. And the 18 episode thing was like the cherry on the top of the cake, because like to me that shows that they're like Daredevil's going to be big, and they're already throwing him in 16 other shows even leading up to this. But they're changing the whole format for him. So I feel like one that excites me in the sense of they're going to try to be true to the spirit of the Netflix show, which had like 18 to 20 episode seasons. And Daredevil was much darker. Like it was pretty violent, more violent than anything we've seen in the MCU thus far. So not that 18 episodes means, oh, this is going to be violent too, but for some reason that makes me think that like if they're willing to do that to kind of stay true to what it was, that makes me feel like they're going to stay true to the level of like darkness and violence that it was as well.
Yeah.
Also, 18 episodes, that's plenty of time to introduce the Punisher, to introduce potentially Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
I feel like we could be getting a lot in Daredevil. Maybe Midnight Suns is introduced in Daredevil, which, if you're not familiar, is like not Avengers level, but like a grouping of heroes like Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, Daredevil.
Yeah.
The
Are we gonna get Ghost Rider?
Eventually, for sure, right? I don't know if we'll get it anytime soon necessarily, but
It can
I
only
think
go
so.
up. So,
But yeah, so I'm really excited for that.
So that's the last show of Phase 5. It's the start of 2024. May 2024, we get Captain America: New World Order.
Cap 4.
Curious what is going to be the story thread in this. What was the Disney Plus show? Him and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah,
Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I wonder if the Winter Soldier is going to pop up in it at all.
I hope so.
The Captain America films are typically really good. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, I guess, or what builds up to this film.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see Sam Wilson kind of take the helm of a full-fledged Cap movie. But so that, in conjunction with Armor Wars, which that's one of the things that we didn't get mention of in this announcement. So I don't know where that lies, but I feel like between Falcon Winter Soldier, Armor Wars, Cap 4, and Thunderbolts, which is what's coming after Cap 4, I think there's going to be a through line through all of those that got introduced in Falcon Winter Soldier. We know, what is her name? The Power Broker. I forget her name. I think it's going to be to do with her. Sharon? Is it Sharon?
Sharon. It is Sharon. Sharon Carter.
Sharon Carter. I think that, she is the Power Broker, and the tease at the end of that show was her like having, not infiltrated isn't the right word, but she was like presumed dead, and she has now like returned and like gotten her seat back at the table of Congress or whatever we want to call it. Right. But she's still a bad guy, So I think whatever she's pulling the strings, maybe that is the New World Order of this like shadow organization.
Which the guy from Falcon the Winter Soldier, who peels off to become what is it, the Patriot?
Oh yeah, I don't think it's the Patriot, but the new Captain America.
Yeah, right. Is he one of the Thunderbolts, or is that
so well, we don't have like official confirmation of that, but yes, because Elaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, recruits him, and we also know that Yelena Belova, Black Widow's sister, is being recruited. So I think it's going to be those two for sure. Maybe Emil Blonsky, the Abomination that we're going to see in She-Hulk,
right?
And I don't know who else, but they are the Thunderbolts, and that's not to move us off Cap if you have anything else to say about it, but that's what's ending Phase 5. So I'm really excited for that because it's like this team of anti-heroes basically,
right?
And this is the phase ender. So like, what are they going up against? Is it even fair to call them the good guys in this movie? Are they going to be the antagonists in this movie that we're going to see heroes come and try to fight against? Right. I'm really curious, but really excited for that.
Yeah. Same thing. Same feeling here. Well, wrapping up our episode, Phase 6, only 3 confirmations. There's obviously going to be other things in the phase, but we know Fantastic Four, and then the 2 Avengers films. So are we getting I can't think of the actor's name.
John Krasinski.
Thank you. Yes. Is he staying as
I don't know.
I can't even think of the character's name.
Richards.
Thank you.
Yeah. I honestly, for some reason, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. What about you?
I don't know. I mean, he's had plenty of content since The Office. Like, dude, I'm blanking on like literally every brand. Where he's the CIA agent, Jack Reacher. Thought he did fine in that. So like I don't have any issue seeing him in that role. I would just be curious if he does or doesn't. But maybe Chris Evans as the Human Torch. I mean, but and then who's the bad guy? Is it isn't Doctor Doom the main villain of the Fantastic Four?
He's like I think if you had to like pick the villain, it's definitely him. I don't think that he'll be the villain of that movie though, because I feel like at least maybe he will be. I hope he's more of a Thanos level villain.
Well, what I was going to say was a year later we get Secret Wars, and so I wonder if we'll get some kind of teaser for him where he pops up in Fantastic Four, and then we have Kang Dynasty middle of the next year, and then wrapping up Phase 6 with Secret Wars. Which, I mean, is it confirmed Secret Wars is the end of Phase 6, or is that just as far as they've announced?
I think it is the end.
Yeah. Okay.
Crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's been some quotes about like Kevin Feige saying that like we had this chance to give the fans what they wanted by casting John Krasinski as Reed in Multiverse of Madness, which made it seem like this was just like a one-time thing. But I mean, it could also just be a misdirect, or maybe maybe he's still in the running, but just not confirmed for that. I don't know. I'll be interested to see who they get, and not to retread our previous thing, but this is where I'm really wondering, how are they gonna explain the Fantastic Four in the MCU? Because I think some other quote came out recently where they said it wasn't going to be an origin movie. Because that's kind of like similar with Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man. They didn't do the whole Uncle Ben bit by the spider story in the first one because that's just been done so many times.
Right.
I think he was implying the same thing here. Like, we've already seen how the Fantastic Four get their powers in other movies. So just really interested to see how they piece those things together. And kind of another thing we briefly spoke on earlier is maybe we're coming towards some sort of reset after this Secret Wars event, because if you're not familiar, Secret Wars brings like all these heroes, different versions of the same hero, to this place called like Battle War to basically fight. And that's really a simple version. So if we're going to get all these different versions of past characters from IPs, like Hugh Jackman Wolverine maybe shows up, I forget his name, but like the guy from Fantastic Four, the first one, Ian Griffin or something, I think it is. I don't know. Like maybe we know this saga is called the Multiverse Saga. We just had the Infinity Saga. This one's the Multiverse Saga. It seems like the culmination could be another reset in some form or fashion. Maybe it's going to be back to one sacred timeline because that's how it needs to be, or something. Or I don't know. I feel like if they wanted to, they could kind of soft reset things and then not have to explain away where the X-Men have been, not have to explain away where the Fantastic Four have been. I don't have the answers for how that would work, but I'm sure that it's comics. Like they could think of something that would make things make sense.
With so many different like IPs is the wrong word for it. So many different like iconic characters and storylines. The only question I have is, after like a soft reset, what do you do with all of those characters again? Or how do you make them all make sense in unison? But for the sake of time, you had some other things that you wanted to mention that weren't mentioned. Maybe we can end with that.
Yeah, so there's just a few things that we didn't get word on. So we got Deadpool 3, the X-Men. When's that coming in? And there were actually 8 in that Phase 6 image that had Fantastic Four in the Avengers movies. There were 8 placards that were empty. So seemingly 8 other things in Phase 6 that we don't know. But Deadpool 3, X-Men, and then Eternals 2, Armor Wars. We know there's a Wonder Man show coming at some point. And then the rest of these are just like speculative on my part, but maybe Loki season 3, Daredevil season 2, Spider-Man 4. We know that's coming, but there's been no news on it.
How does that work with Sony, by the way?
I think they have some sort of agreement. There's been talk of another trilogy. I don't know if anything's like fully confirmed.
With Tom Holland?
Yeah, but like that's not like officially confirmed for sure, but that's like the rumor is that there's going to be another trilogy.
Wow. I'd be down for it. That's cool.
And I mean, the last Spider-Man 3 kind of set up, kind of a reset in terms of, he's now the neighborhood level again. Yeah. Oh, and I don't think it's canon. The Spider-Man freshman year show I talked about earlier, I think it's kind of like What If. It's like another universe, but Charlie Cox, Daredevil,
oh my God,
is going to be in that. So it would be cool if Spider-Man 4 was maybe back down to more street level stuff and maybe like a Daredevil pairing or something. But a Scarlet Witch solo film maybe, because I mean, I'm with you. Spoilers, I don't think she died. That would be so unceremonious for like one of the most powerful.
Right.
A couple rocks killed her, you know.
Yeah, and I'm pissed if she is dead. I mean, like,
I don't think she is.
Why ruin that character?
Yeah, especially with an Agatha show coming. I mean, that's such a like hardline connected character. I feel like not that Scarlet Witch is going to show up in that, but I just feel like we're not done with Scarlet Witch. Eternals 2.
Mention that.
Doctor Strange 3. I mean, we got a tease at the end of the second one. I mentioned Armor Wars. The only other things, Shang-Chi 2.
Right.
And potential Midnight Suns project. And then what about a Doctor Doom solo project to set up him? Like, that would be kind of cool, like, twist on the head. Like, let's give the big bad his own movie, like, about him. Like, truly set up this anti-hero that we're ultimately going to have to fight against. But that would be, like, really cool to kind of, like, have that confliction.
I could see it more for Kang, but definitely, for sure, I can definitely
that would be
see
awesome
that
too.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things coming. Let us know in the comments. What are you most excited about? What do you think about these movies and films that are coming up? And what do you think hasn't been announced yet? What's your best guess? We want to hear about it. This video, I feel like it was pretty good. We kind of were just like, jumping around, but
I had fun.
We talked about it. So there you go. What should we do for a thumbnail?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just like smiling. I don't know.
Do like an eating popcorn, going to the movies or something.
Okay.
Type of.
All right, I'm down for that.
All right, let's do it.
I'll be like.
Yeah. Doesn't really work as a freeze frame, but
it's like you're petting a cat.
Yeah. All right, he's petting a cat and he's smiling.
That guy's pointing at something.
Well, guys, thanks for checking out this episode. Again, let us know what you think in the comments. We're also at the Pixelists. Stay tuned for 1,000 subs for our giveaway of Tal'Dorei Reborn. And I guess our next video is going to be after this next Thursday's episode when we return to Critical Role.
Yeah.
So
get back on that cliffhanger. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
Already on. Bye.